Hi friends, and welcome back to playing JRPG The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. The second game, Resolve. Are you guys ready to open Pandora's box? We're gonna get to the bottom of this case with the professor and the professor. I didn't even put those two together as I was saying them. I have been, every single time we refer to our client as professor, I'm like, I mean, clearly it's not the same person. It's just, you're referring to him in the same way. Ah, the Knight Errant himself. Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Sholmes? I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs, as a spectator at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense. What is this professor business all about? He doesn't look like any professor I've ever met before. Who even is he? Of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. Look at them with their sixth sense of foreboding. But who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies. As it turns out, Lord Van Zieks is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realized, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now, a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. Imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear, and to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate. I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling. Oh yes, in what particular manner? Well, there's Mr. Trevor, Dr. Scythe, and Lord Van Zieks. It seems that everybody in the trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes, in fact, I alone am not a member of the set. Though that leaves me as an empty set, all alone with no intersection to any other. Excuse me. Oh, hi. 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 Dr. Scythe. Ah, Dr. Courtney Scythe. Nay, Stevens. Good day to you. Hello, Sholmes. It is very shrewd of you. What in particular, pray? You requested that 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Gregson told me. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectants. A policeman on the jury had a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Scythe. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Lord Van Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about is the professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth, that's cowardice. I've always fought crime in a way that I see fit. I've no regrets, none at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you. She mentioned it too, this Pandora's box. Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern, I assure you. When the trial resumes, the meaning will become all too apparent, whether you'd like to or not. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back up to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits. I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah, yes, one word of warning before I go. If, in the course of the trial this afternoon, you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand. Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Alright, I understand. Thank you. Good. I shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. That again. What did that warning from Mr. Sholmes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. It's time for the final chapter, then. I'm determined to find the truth, no matter what. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready. As the court is aware, the case under scrutiny began with the damaging incident at the Great Exhibition, yet we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation. It seems to be the fate of all trials in which this case is involved, my lord. So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was cardinally involved in this matter. Lord Venzix. Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tospels? Not at all. She's in the antechamber as we speak and ready to be summoned. Very well, bring in the witness. At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Tospels to the stand. Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Trevor is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice in Dr. Scythe. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes, the model of the professor. It's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, but at present, it's all we have to go on. Sorry. State your name and occupation to the court, please. My name is Madame Esmeralda Tospels. I'm a waxwork artisan. I'm the proprietor of Madame Tospels' Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world. Oh my, what expression is she carving onto that face? A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oui, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped. A waxwork model kidnapped? Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprits. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim? At present, that is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. And this is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Odiosman. But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personages exhibit. I detest to say what is evident, but Mr. Osmond does not resemble the professor at all. Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? I have a key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. This is absurd. Pardon? I don't know what face you've carved onto your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly, it won't be that of the actual killer. Indeed. The man's identity was never made public, after all. The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There's no possible way that a repository of tawdry exhibits could get its hands on that information. Quite a moche. It would seem you are unaware of the Tuspel's principles. What principles? The family Tuspels has always prided itself on sculpting its models to perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voila, our principles. And there's a well-known legend about the Tuspels waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Tuspels family is said to have made a waxwork of the Queen who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the Queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, actually at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horrors. We Tuspels will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me, I have somewhat certain intensity of purpose. It's the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of a subject. And it has been my family's secret for generations. Do you mean to say that beneath the mask? Oui, the true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. The professor spread terror throughout the Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tuspel special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer emerging from his own grave. The sight to behold, you should tell me. I think, madam, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model, and your personal involvement with its creation. With pleasure. Still not sure how this connects to the case. Besides the fact that the wax model was used. But, like, what? Just what? The special exhibit in his House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with Tuspel's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head of the cemetery just before the entertainment. Oh! I hid myself until he gave me a signal, and was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. The gravedigger. The gravedigger? The man sanctioned this? Oui. I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew, only the gravedigger. What harm did it do, huh? So you truly saw it. The face of that monster. Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was secret. But Tuspels will not be Tuspels if we do not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculptures. I don't believe this. I myself have seen this special exhibit at your museum, madam. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave. The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. The special exhibit was based upon a picture in this article. Yep, that's terrifying. It was the most detailed account of what happened, as reported by the eyewitness who saw it. Alleged resurrection of the professor from his grave the night of his execution. Man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words. The public enjoy absurdity emotion. That is why I've reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum. And his waxwork from the exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident of the Great Exhibition, wasn't it? That is correct. The professor you see before you here. Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. This waxwork links Drebber to Dr. Scythe, and there has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drebber were in on this crime together. Let's learn more about the whole thing that we just got the... Because I think they're talking about this. Charles Darwin to receive Copley Medal. Mad Sheep Rampage. The Great Stink. Was Baal Mask to blame for the Great Blaze? Man rises from the grave. Mr. Drebber's dreadful encounter. Why do I feel like he's the grave digger then, in that case? And why did he have the camera? I mean, it's very possible. Wait a second. Odious Men is the artist here? I just recognize his signature. Oh goodness me. What is happening? What is happening with this case? I don't remember this. And that rumor would be a 10-year tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget. Ah, right, I know just what you're talking about, I think. Of course, I couldn't be anything else. Yes, that story will never disappear. It's a tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my House of Horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. Yes, please tell me more. It was in Lowgate Cemetery behind the prison, in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The interred professor slid back the stone step, covering his tomb, and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell motionless once more. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life. And who shot the corpse? The corpse climbed out of his own grave. And then somebody shot him? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. Who shot him? But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. As the good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it is in every newspaper across the capital. But was it just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today in your museum, isn't it? Oui, the special exhibit was modeled on this very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madam, might I say something? Please do go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often rumors contain elements of the truth. Ah, I see the people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful? It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? 10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging. I took a wax impression of the visage of a corpse just before it was interred. And so I can assure you, the man was dead. I see. Yet would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. Back to the cheery music of the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Is that true of every waxwork in your museum, then? This is assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know. What sort of letters? When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Come here. No. My museum is famous, Muso. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals a symbol of status. Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. And it is thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the store as a special exhibit, of course, the Professor, whose form played with caption by taking an impression from the actual corpse. There are no exceptions to the principles of Tuspels.
Hold it!
Surely that's illegal, isn't it? It would seem the proprietors of the repository of novelties is blinded by monetary greed. It has nothing to do with money. The man is part of London's criminal histories, that is why I had to escort him, to record his history. It is the raison d'etre of the Tuspels Museum. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity. I assure you, behind the mask is hidden the true face of the Professor. Do you realize what you're saying? The Professor's identity is a national secret. I understand. And now that the truth about the special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close. Of course it will, as you will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully about it. That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, I think, don't you? So 10 years ago, on the night of the Professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse. Oui, exactement.
Hold it!
You were there longer than you expected to be. I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open and I have some problems with his chin. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing and consequently his chin would not align itself correctly. Oh dear, what a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have assisted with me. However, that night I was alone, and as a consequence, missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visage of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? It is because of rigor mortis. Rigor mortis? Is the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education, if a slightly scary one. As a Mademoiselle Zet says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and starts in the jaw. I see. So that's why you wait. Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work. It's getting hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. I wonder about that information the courts just heard from Madame Tuspels. Sure, it's significant. Everything's significant. Just go for it. And the information about rigor mortis that you just shared with us, would you mind including that in your formal testimony? I believe it could be significant. Of course. I do not mind at all. I can't help feeling that after this lateness topic, The atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. This is no time for jokes, Miss Usato. Madam, kindly amend your testimony as discussed. Bincha?
Hold it!
Rigor mortis being the phenomenon you described, whereby the corpse becomes stiff after death. This is new information. So what's the significance here? I think you said that it starts at the jaw, about 3 hours post-death. Is that right? Oui, c'est ça. Of course, the exact duration depends on literal anesthesia. I didn't realize Waxford Artisan would be so well versed in the subject. No, that is only elementary knowledge in the field of legal medicine. Well, I had no idea about it, but maybe I won't admit to my ignorance about forensic science. I could ask my father to give you a very simple primer if you'd like. I think corpses should be your domain. I'm no good with them. Oh dear. I'll do my very best. Am I concerned with the timing? Is the timing weird? What's the problem here?
Hold it!
You say that dawn was approaching. What was the time of day then? Approximately? Well, I could not say. But when I left the cemetery with my utensils and wax, the morning light was becoming visible. The execution took place on the 17th of June, which had the earliest sunrise that year. Indeed it did. First light would have been at around 4:40 in the morning. It really is early. The fact is, I had very little time, so I finished my work in a half hour. It was necessary to complete the impression and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe, so I had to hurry. Is it me, or does Mr. Sholmes seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go to extraordinary lengths for your work, madam. Okay, so it was the 17th. I wonder, is what she just said particularly significant? Sure, everything's significant. Madam, those details about how long it took you to complete the sculpture in the early sunrise, could you include those in your testimony? I believe they might be significant. Of course, if you would like me to. You're quite right, Mr. Naruto. It is intriguing. A sunrise at 4 in the morning would be absolutely unimaginable at home, wouldn't it? That's not quite what I meant by significant. Kindly amend your formal testimony then, madam. With pleasure, my lord. Okay.
Hold it!
Half hour before sunrise, which would have been 4:40, so 4:10 was when she started. Aha! There's the timing issue. Rigor mortis should have already... Because it was midnight that he was killed, right? And it said 3 hours? But she said that rigor mortis hadn't started yet. You have a reason to believe you might be discovered once the sun came up or something. I had paid the gravedigger money to keep my little secret, of course. But with the morning lights, I knew that so important from the prison would commence its patrol of the area. Couldn't you just paid off the warding too, then? I had already paid the gravedigger, as I said. You cannot buy the silence of everyone. Or the secret is no longer a secret, huh? Sunrise was at 4:40 a.m. that day, which means it would have been around 4 when you began your sculpting work. Wait, that must be correct. That would be when the gravedigger to give me a signal to come out of hiding. Okay, that's the problem. So that's all I have to go on. What you're feeling. For some reason, Dr. Smith wanted more of Jack's plan. If that were really true, then the professor is the only other thing we know that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that waxwork must be a clue to this mystery somehow. In that case, we must use the cross-examination to uncover exactly what that means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert their meanings and the trial will be over. I agree, but interestingly, uncovering what the professor has to do with all this means more to Lord Van Zeeks than anyone. That's the impression I'm getting anyway. Interesting. As do I. After all, he has a profound connection to the professor as well. Yeah, he keeps saying that it's impossible to have seen the face. Okay. In the half hour before sunrise. It was before the onset of the mortis. Okay. I'm gonna present it here. And if it's wrong, I'll present it in the next spot.
Objection!
It's wrong, I'll present it in the other spot. I guess I just needed more details to understand what I was doing.
Objection!
There we go. Madam Tuspels. I have here an autopsy report that was filed 10 years ago now. I guess that makes sense because it's the rigor mortis thing that was my contention, so it makes sense for me to press it, or to present it in this particular statement. Anyway. Yeah. It confirms the death of the professor following his execution at the gallows. And is that a problem? I believe it is, because your testimony and a particular detail in the report completely contradict one another. Oi? Koi? Are you going to explain yourself, my Japanese friend? According to her testimony, Madame Tuspels was creating her wax impression just before dawn, and at that time, rigor mortis had not yet set in. Am I correct so far, madam? You are, yes. As I said, the stiffening of the jaw is the first sign of rigor mortis 2 to 3 hours after death. But the man's chin was limp, so he cannot have been dead for a long time. But on the other hand, if you look at Dr. Scythe's report, it quite clearly states the following. Death by hanging, confirmed at midnight, 17th of June. No. If the professor indeed died at midnight that day, then by the time you were sculpting his face, rigor mortis would have already set in. Wait, yes, you are right. The chin, it would have been completely stiff. In other words, this report is wrong.
Objection!
No coroner makes mistakes when recording the time of death. The very idea is absurd. In that case, there's only one possible conclusion. The execution didn't actually take place at the stated time. Impossible! Order, Counsel, this is beyond folly. Not only do you indict the author of the report, Dr. Scythe, but you also implicate the members of the staff at Barclay Prison where the execution took place. By heck! Extraordinary! Not in my day! My learned friend appears to have overlooked one very crucial fact. What fact? The professor died that night, without question. He did. Of course he did. I moved the man's limp jaw with my own hands.
Objection.
There was no... Yes, the professor died that night. But what if he didn't die at the gallows? Didn't die? Are you insane? What exactly are you suggesting did happen in that case? It's almost impossible to believe, but it would explain the link between Dr. Scythe, the professor, and that one other person of interest. I have evidence that will explain exactly what I'm suggesting happened that night. Counsel, present the evidence at once. The evidence that allegedly explains what really happened the night of the professor's execution. Well, this.
Take that!
He climbed out of his grave because he was alive? What happened that night was written very plainly in this newspaper article. Executed criminal returns in the dead of night at local cemetery. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now? Well, if this article is to be believed, yes. The professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection!
Don't be a fool. That's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Can you be certain of that? Are you serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word, yes, indeed. My way. The young man who stole us into the cemetery by chance that night.
Objection!
Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself. Obviously, the man made it all up. And in any case, this is 10 years ago now, and there would surely be no hope of finding him.
Objection!
It says his name right there. On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness well. What? You suggested, counsel, that you've identified the person in question? That you know who claims to have seen the utterly incredible events take place? Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say that he's right here before my very eyes. You will substantiate your latest claim now then, counsel. Who is the alleged witness of this staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago? He's named in the article, you idiots. There he is.
Take that!
The man in question is Mr. Enoch Drebber. The previous witness. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors in Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxwork recreates the decade-old scene in great detail. The condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. And that young man is a 10-year younger Mr. Enoch Drebber. Order. Surely not, counsel. Drebber was there, in Lowgate Cemetery. What does all this talk about Mr. Drebber? Is the name significant? Of course, Madame Tuspels doesn't know, does she? Yes, it's extremely significant, madam. To your situation as well, in fact. What situation? The theft of the Professor Waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man. No. But that would mean... Madame Tuspels. It would appear you know them. Oui, yes, I know it. But from long ago in the past. What? Oh my. Good gracious. He's the gravedigger, isn't he? Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know. Yes, of course. Maybe not. I don't know. That's my guess. It's the story of the young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago. It was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. It's in the newspaper. That is apart from one newspaper. Oh, there we go. It's the Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I've already shown the court. You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article? Goodness me, yes, here it is. The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Trevor, a disciple of science at the University of London, and a resident of its student dorms. Unbelievable. When I read the article, I went to meet with him. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was true or not. I see. So you went to meet Mr. Trevor in order to sculpt a waxwork of the man, did you? Exactement. He was studying science at University of London in those days. He was just a post-student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been in my museum to recreate the scene of the terror from the cemetery. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. She needs the exact face. So 10 years ago, a young man appealed to the public about an extraordinary event he'd witnessed. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated this claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote, and it was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use it as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today. Even though the waxwork build is a poor match for the victim, and his face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? Which brings us to 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. If the birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Esmond, but the same waxwork, the coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated, Dr. Scythe, would have noticed immediately. And yet she submitted this autopsy report of the victim, which the court had seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Dr. Scythe put her name onto a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who was still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Trevor. But that misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Trevor used that particular waxwork as the body double. Blackmail? I'm not quite understanding this train of logic here. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Scythe to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Trevor are connected. But according to the missive I received this morning from prosecutor's office, Dr. Scythe is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? She told us so herself, didn't she? Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. And surely nobody would want to go to the bottom of that more than Lord Van Zeeks. I mean, he might summon her after all. Forbidden or no. The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. There we go, that a boy. But Lord Van Zeeks, the missive was issued from the Lord Chief Justice's office.
Objection!
The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. Yes. But Enoch Trevor and Dr. Scythe both take the stand together. Order, order, order. Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send a subpoena with the immediate effect addressed to Dr. Scythe for forensic investigation. The woman is compelled to attend Her Majesty's orders. All right then. Enoch Trevor and Dr. Scythe. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could never have been committed. just a stone's throw away. I can feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out. Look at us all together. I was wondering when we were going to have multiple witnesses again. Thank you for your attendance at such short notice, Dr. Scythe. I'm disappointed in you, Lord Venzius. You've completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office. Betrayal is not in my nature, as long as the truth isn't compromised. If it is, if there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then no matter whom it concerns or disgruntles, I will proceed ahead to the verdict, as would any prosecutor worth its salt. Mr. Drebber, you took the victim's life by means of a machine that you constructed in your workshop. And Dr. Scythe, as the investigating coroner, you were the first one on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime. And where's your evidence? At present, we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue. What are you talking about? I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. This model of the killer known as the Professor, who was sentenced to death 10 years ago. You don't need to tell me. I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes and officially pronounced him dead. That remains to be seen. Is that so? According to newspaper reports from the time, on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life. Don't waste my time. And the sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Drebber, wasn't it? If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction but a reality, it would make you privy to the very great secret of Dr. Scythe's. A secret so profound it could compel the coroner to agree to collaborate with your evil scheme, in fact. Was Mr. Drebber, tell the court. Tell everyone the truth of what you saw that night in Lowgate Cemetery. So he was the student who saw it. You can see the resemblance, actually, can't you? With the man in Madame Tussbells, I mean? Surely he's not going to claim that that wasn't him. I accidentally pressed A. And a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me. Let's see it. Surely he's not going to claim that's really what he saw, especially not after all these years. He was a research student at the University of London, wasn't he? And a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me. What an interesting twist. When at the time, no one person would take me seriously. Yet now here we are 10 years later, and suddenly my story matters. And in a court of law, too. Very well, then. If everyone's so wishes. Let's be frank. I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night, for what it's worth. I really like his theme. It is a fun theme. He's a terrible person, clearly, but it's a fun theme. This is going to be an interesting interaction here. So, Mr. Drebber, your testimony, please, about the events of that night 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumbled across Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, of course, as you wish. The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery all 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in the newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. But thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model for me from wax. And then I gave up my dream of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of that newspaper article. Wait, are you denying it now? You can't be serious. Wait a minute, you're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now? Of course, you'd have to have a screw loose if you could believe a corpse could come back from the dead. But, so you're saying this article is not what the paper is printed on? I think that would describe it perfectly, yes. If the details in the article aren't true, it nullifies your argument for why Mr. Trevor and Dr. Scythe would have been working together. So he's discrediting himself to cripple my argument. And tell me, witness, you claim to have been in the cemetery on some auxiliary business. Care to elaborate? Actually, I think he said, can you elaborate? That's right, grave robbing, to be precise. As you know, Logate Cemetery is the real part of the prison. So among students at the university, it had a reputation for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. Grave robbing, you say? Yes, exhuming fresh corpses to sell is reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a finger on any valuables buried with the dead. So you were one of the so-called resurrectionists, a particularly unpleasant school to society. Actually, my fellows and I went by another name. The repurposers. And that is quite beyond pale. You would invite divine retributions. Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Service eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. Caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. I see. Out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article? Oh, yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene. Obviously, as time went on, I eventually regretted what I'd done. Claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish, very foolish. So, Isman was a reporter then. Well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed to the cross-examination now. At once, my lord. Okay, he is denying everything. I need to... He had a camera around his neck. I want to know what that was about. Also, I have blood on the camera that I have. I have to remember that. By moonlighting, you mean grave robbing, do you? Surely you know that we look at the graveyard scene and my appearance to gauge that answer to that. The lantern and spade. But who on earth would want to buy a dead body? Any major hospital. A hospital? In order to better understand the human body, the study of anatomy is crucial to medical science. But there isn't a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with. Though obviously they can't openly express an interest in obtaining more by dubious means. As inspiring scientists, we young research students had no money to work with, I'm sure you can imagine. So we made surreptitious arrangements with the hospital via some of our medical student acquaintances. We would never take any value from the graves. This was all for furtherance of science, you see. That's what we all told ourselves every time we stole to the graveyard at night, speaking You realize body snatching is a serious crime. If you were caught, you would expect the gravest of consequences. These students were caught between a hammer and an anvil. We need funds for research. Professor Harebrain said exactly the same. I'm quite speechless at the apparent levity with which you've revealed this abhorrent behavior. Well, if you want to know why I was there at Logate Cemetery, that's the reason. I never expected this to end the way it did. That I regret to this day.
Hold it!
Maybe we can start talking about the illustrator. Doing his voice is making me... my throat phlegm up. It makes my throat really dry. The strange happening at Logate Cemetery, which you now deny. Not entirely. I ran to fetch the police at the time, you know. I was was shaking like a leaf. But they didn't believe a word of it. In fact, I was very nearly arrested myself. So you went to the papers instead? I started back with London News, but unsurprisingly, they didn't want to know either. In the end, though, it was reporters from the gossip press, the gutter press, that came to get my story. And it spread like the plague through the capital, as gossip-hungry Londoners lapped up the tale. The story was in every single paper at the time, with the exception of some broadsheets. Oh no! My thing fell again, I'm so sorry. Just this. And yet, only 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. Most of the accounts turned out to be very interpretive ghost stories. What about the article in the Daily Circus? That particular journalist found me at my dormitory. I don't know how, but he discovered my name. So I recounted to him exactly what had happened that night. And from your description, he drew this illustration. Precisely. That's how I learned that the condemned man was the infamous professor. Because the reporter told me so. And I knew myself, you see. Newspaper reporters don't want to snoop around in matters that don't concern them. So the scene portrayed in the illustration is accurate, then? Well...
Hold it!
What are you talking about? I think I explained already, didn't I? Bogate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so is renowned among the students at the university for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. For some absurd reason, I was scared of the graveyard at night. And as a result, only too willing to believe the nonsense about the dead coming back to life. But you said you actually saw it. I said what I'd seen in my mind's eye. After all, resurrection is impossible, isn't it? You'd have to be unhinged to think otherwise. Unless, of course, you have some evidence that proves I encountered the professor that night. I don't know. Is there any material evidence that would show he really did see the professor? If we have anything at all, Mr. Naruto. I know I need to present it against that irritatingly backtracking statement of his. The point is, the night was a pivotal moment in my life.
Hold it!
I want to make that camera important. Because I feel like that's my only... The young woman being Madame Tespels, of course. Precisely. I must say I didn't expect to run into her again like this 10 years later. As I have explained, I went by the name published in the article, and Gamagai found the name. Yes, the article of the Daily Circus, I think you said. I don't know why I made his voice for that. I'm mixing up all of my voices. I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time. And a young lady put £5 in front of me. So you readily consented to having a waxwork of yourself made, and gave permission for it to be put on display. I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded. Ah, oui. I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day, n'est-ce pas? Did you? I can't say I remember. What was it, madam? This camera. Aha! Ah. Oh yes, I made a point of taking it with me whenever I made an excursion to any cemetery. You took a camera with you, sir? To what end? To record the details of the bodies I disinterred. But I had no intention of ever visiting the graveyard again after that night, so I sold it. I see. But I still have it, monsieur. It's what is a special exhibit in my House of Horrors. I'm very meticulous about such details. It is the Tespel's way. It would seem, then, that this is the very camera Mr. Drebber took with him to Longgate Cemetery on the night in question. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay.
Hold it!
This article, you mean? Published in the Daily Circus. Yes, somebody informed the team that it was my name that appeared in the article. And carelessly let slip that night after night I was digging up graves, hardly a mob was doing, I'd say. The university's reputation was execrably defiled, and I was expelled as a result. Oh, dude, I had no idea. Having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialist trade. You combined your knowledge of science with knowledge of stage magic to create various experimental machines intended to demonstrate never-before-seen technology. And you used these deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into giving you money. Professor Albert Harebrain was just your latest victim, wasn't he? Whatever are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing anything of the sort. What's Trevor up to? Why would he suddenly change his tune and recount his claim? Wait, hold on a second. The reason we didn't think it was the real thing was because it was empty. Of evidence would be on display at Madame Tussbell's. Very keen on everything being as true to life as possible. Okay, so the picture is missing. Did he take a picture of him? I wonder if perhaps it's because the circumstances have changed now. What circumstances? Well, he admits to having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave 10 years ago. It will expose a secret in Dr. Scythe's past that she would desperately want to hide. Yes, of course, if Drebber and Dr. Scythe are working together now, then Drebber were to betray her, then there would be no reason for her to continue to cooperate. In that case, there's only one way around it. I have to prove that he did see it. Prove he saw the professor's corpse coming back from the dead as he originally claimed. Yes, Mr. Naruto, exactly. Okay. Let's present evidence against this irritatingly backtracking statement, as he said. I think I need to use this.
Objection!
Or not.
Hold it!
What are you talking about? Yes, of course. We have evidence that proves I encountered the professor that night. No, is there any material evidence that can show that he really did see the professor? Present it.
Hold it!
Would you not deny? Please, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cared. There's the accounts or ghost stories. Daily Circus. He drew the description. This reporter told me I had an idea myself, and so the reporters wanted to sneak around. So the scene pretending the illustration was correct then? Well.
Hold it!
Oops, I didn't mean to press. I wanted to look at my court record now. Okay. camera, right? Because we got so much information about it. Is there something else that I missed? Anything at all? I'm at such a loss. Is it... Is it the newspaper article? I'm not sure what the game wants from me right now. Never actually saw the professor at all. I looked in there, didn't give me any information. Wait a second.
Objection!
Okay. So, that was me just trying to grasp at straws here. Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just doing a terrible job. Alright, I'm gonna try this, and then when that fails...
Objection!
I'm not really sure. Oh, okay, it didn't fail. Sorry, Mr. Drebber, but I don't believe that. Don't believe what? Your latest claim. You did see the professor that night, 10 years ago? Oh dear, we seem to be at odds. But I was there, and you were not. I know that I didn't see. The illustration of this article was drawn based upon what you told the journalists that you witnessed. A figure emerging from a tomb wearing an iron mask. Is that it? It was when the killer was tried 10 years ago. It was decided in a close courtroom. The man with the red mask to hide his identity wasn't to be removed even during his execution and subsequent burial. Not even the prison wardens were to see the man's face. But obviously, the provision of the mask was not public knowledge. Oh! Well, that would have been good to know. So, Mr. Drebber, as you've just heard, a lowly student of the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. So unless you'd actually seen the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in that illustration. Order. Well, Mr. Drebber. It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified. Which is why I had in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards I came to my senses and realized that I've been mistaken. You're still saying you didn't see it. If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course, of course. Only too happy to oblige. I can't believe he's still not going to concede the point. Okay, now it's gotta be the camera, right? Was a fellow grave robber at work?
Hold it!
What? A fellow grave robber? What are you talking about? Well, I wasn't the only one busy in the cemetery that night, you know? Other body snatchers were at work. Of course, when I saw one emerging from the hole he'd dug, my heart very nearly stopped. So that's a terrifying sight I actually saw, you see. You're claiming it was just another student who equally insalubrious business as yourself. Many of the medical students would wear metal masks to protect them from bacteria during dissections. Clearly that fellow was using such a mask to protect his anonymity, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
But there's more to the story, isn't there? The article goes on to say, in the next second, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath then stilled once more. We might assume that the citizen discovered the miscreants at work, perhaps, and fired upon one of them. If a gravedigger had shot someone in the cemetery, I think it might have been a rather big news, my lord. Oh, yes, well. I can only assume it was this embellishment bolted on later by the reporter.
Excuse me!
Madam Tuspels, don't take it out on Mr. Sholmes. Oh la la, pardon. I was lost in my thoughts. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Drebber's last remark was significant to you in some way? I thought it was a little strange, that's all. How Monsieur Drebber could claim this now. If you don't mind me saying, madam, what are you talking about? Well, when I met you 10 years ago at your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, no? Including the gunshot. Stop. You might want to watch your tongue, you know.
Objection!
Have a care, Trevor. That's no way to speak to a lady. Please, Madam Tuspels, carry on. Of course. According to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time. Also, I guess it's her theme, too. Machinations. That would be the theme. I wonder what the actual title of the song is. I could totally hear it and see it being Machinations. According to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him, and the bullet had sickened the man. He said nothing of the sort. No, you were very explicit about the details. About the mask that the figure was wearing, and the blood that spattered over you when he was shot. There's the camera. Enough, shut up, woman. You're making it all up. That will do. Mr. Drebber? Yes. You refute the account just given by Madame Tuspels? I have no recollection of ever saying those things. Come on, do you really expect us to believe you? Control yourself, counsel. I will not permit baseless accusations in my courtroom. Right. Under the circumstances, I think it best that you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this witness. Very well.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera? But that is the camera from The Fateful Night. Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It's the camera you took with you to the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber. And is that supposed to be significant. This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleague and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forwards at the end, on the end of some bellows. Like this.
Hold it!
What's that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like a dark red stain. Ah. That's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here on the bellows, in fact. Good lord, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a spatter of blood. Something that could be confirmed with a simple chemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Scythe? It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood, and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not his blood is all is simply enough. I propose that Madame Tuspel's testimony was correct, and that on the night in question 10 years ago, you were splattered with blood from the gunshot wound. Aye. And that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. Ah! There's simply no way you could have forgotten such a traumatic experience. In other words, the only explanation is that you're trying to hide the fact that you saw the professor.
Objection!
But why? Why would he want to do that? Well, not for his own gain, it would seem. For who could benefit? Mr. Drebber is obviously lying in order to protect somebody. My goodness, is he shielding someone? Yes, my lord. And clearly, it's someone who doesn't want the truth about the professor's coming back to life to be exposed. Well, counsel, who is it then? Who is the witness trying to protect by lying about... Who is the witness trying to protect by lying about what he saw that night?
Take that!
The obvious answer is Dr. Scythe. Scythe? Whatever do you mean? Imagine if the convict who'd been sentenced to death was not in fact killed. Imagine if that was to come to light. What are you insinuating? And imagine if the convict in question was the country's most hated mass murderer. If it was the professor, that would be unprecedented scandal.
Objection!
This is beyond a joke. Need I point out that the dead cannot come back to life? What you're suggesting would mean that the execution never actually happened. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
Objection!
Once a man is sent to the gallows, he hangs. No one could escape, not in Great Britain.
Objection!
But the fact is, there was a witness to the fact that the man did escape his hanging. If that were really true, counsel, then implications of the misconduct would not stop at the supervising coroner. It would take the honor of the entire judiciary, from the ground up. And it's exactly because of those monumental repercussions that Dr. Scythe would consent to any demand made of her by someone who threatened to expose the secret. Even if that meant being complicit in a crime. Man, I come back to court after 6 months and I'm still going, like, digging up crazy governmental secrets or whatever. Oi, I'm never gonna be allowed in court again. You mean? I mean that Dr. Scythe wasn't collaborating in Mr. Drebber's wicked scheme. She was coerced into collaborating in order to protect her decade-old secret. She switched the dead body of Mr. Isman with the waxwork model and fabricated the autopsy report. Lord Van Zeeks. Pray forgive my freshly filled hallowed chalice, and a whole raft for the discourtesies now. Goodness me. It's just the sort of tall tale Londoners would enjoy, I grant you. An executed killer rising from the dead, Scotland Yard's cover-up, a conspiracy at the highest levels. So let me ask you one thing. What's that? condemned man really did emerge from his tomb that night only to be shot in the chest. Who pulled the trigger? And dispose of him forever? Well, I have no idea at the moment. We have too little information to work that out at present, I think. I couldn't agree more. The Old Bailey is no place for wild fantasies. And have you considered this, my learned Nibonese friend? Considered what? Do you realize just what a dangerous endeavor it would be to coerce this woman into such criminal activity? It's tantamount to declaring war on the entire British police force and judiciary. Quite hard to imagine any sum of money being offered for research could warrant it. To rely on some stage deception when so much is at stake would be madness. Well, I suppose. And this was no petty crime either. The victim was murdered. A man who had already invested money in the venture and would be instrumental in future profits too. Yes, I had no reason to kill Mr. Esmond at all. Or are you forgetting that his death results in me receiving not a single penny? The court is already aware of the contract between myself and the victim, no? I don't think it was about the money. This is the contract, that's very true. I think it was about the fact that he was the reporter. He was the one who put his name out there. The motive for this case runs deep, though. I can feel it. Using threats to force the head of the forensic investigation team to cooperate is extreme, especially for a government grant he had no guarantee of receiving in the first place. If the research grant was the aim, taking Mr. Esmond's life would have made no sense anyway. Which means Mr. Drebber's motive wasn't money at all. He was just trying to kill Mr. Esmond. But why? What was his motive then? Yeah, I think it was like a revenge thing. Time is up, my learned friend. I'd say you have one last chance before the jury lose their patience with this charade. Let's see if you can back up your heady proposal, shall we? He just dodged out of the way. The apprentice. How do you explain why this engineer would throw all caution to the wind and threaten his own country? At this point, I'm not prepared to listen to more of this outlandish conjecture without proof. So, counsel, present your evidence. Alright, who exactly was Mr. Esmond's Drebber? There's a connection there, but no one's seen yet. I'm going to have to present 2 pieces of evidence to show that what it is. Oh, okay. It's the signatures. I'm gonna present the 2 signatures. That's fun. I like that. Yes, my lord. The evidence that establishes motive and explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. 2 pieces of evidence. 1. 10-year-old newspaper. It's this newspaper article, my lord. That was written 10 years ago. And every detail has been examined already. What can possibly tell us? Drivel should never have written. Typical gutter press nonsense means nothing. Yes, please do keep being angry at this, because that's making your motive shine. Yes, on its own it isn't particularly significant. However, when considered alongside another piece of evidence, it will completely explain your motive for wanting Mr. Esmond dead. What other evidence? Counsel, you'll present your supplementary evidence without delay. Evidence, in cross-reference with the newspaper article, establishes the motive for the deed. Where is it? There it is.
Take that!
It's the contract, my lord. Mr. Drebber, this is the contract you signed with Mr. Esmond. Yes, that's right. Very documented fact. And that proves I had no reason to kill the man. On the contrary. No, I'm afraid not. What? There's something very significant that this newspaper article and the contract have in common. Really? And it's the common link. That shows very clearly why you were determined to kill Mr. Odie Esmond. It seems the defense has uncovered something the rest of us have missed. So, my learned friend, point out what those 2 pieces of evidence have in common. Gladly. Where exactly is the link between this newspaper article and the contract? Alrighty, we are right there at the signature. Let's make sure that that's nice and clear. And
Take that!
what these two pieces of evidence have in common is a signature. A signature? The signature on the illustration that accompanies the 10-year-old article and the signature on the contract belong to the same person. What? And the court has heard, this illustration was drawn 10 years ago by the newspaper reporter who found Mr. Drebber and interviewed him about his ordeal. If you look closely, the reporter's signature can be seen in the bottom right corner of the drawing. And if you look at the contract here, which was signed between the witness and the victim last year, you can clearly see Mr. Isman's signature at the bottom. Let me see now. Good lord, yes, they're identical. In short, the journalist who drew the illustration and wrote the article published about Mr. Drebber 10 years ago was the victim of this case, Mr. Odie Isman.
Objection!
Defeated? What? Would explain to the court why. Why would that constitute a motive for the witness to murder Aswin? Well, if you think back, you'll remember that Mr. Drebber talked about that article in his testimony. And I tried to present the trophy for that one. It's like, what? You're a scientist? Look, the trophy said so. At the time, you were a student at the University of London who dreamt of becoming a scientist. However, it was very promising with it too. The single newspaper article changed your entire life. So, Mr. Isman used to be a newspaper journalist, did he? He did, my lord. In fact, it's a widely held belief that Isman managed to position himself at the heart of his criminal network, thanks to the many dubious convictions he made during his time as a reporter. So you had to give up on your dream and leave university. You lost everything. Eventually, you found yourself working in the field of science, but only in the shadows. And all because of that article, written by Mr. Isman. Enough! Stop this endless drivel about my life. What? Explain yourself, Mr. Drebber. Yes, it's true. I had to leave the university as a result of that article. But it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean? Almost every student of science in this faculty was too poor to actually conduct any research, but they struggled on with their hypotheses anyway. We all did, only to have them taken by vultures. Sooner or later, you knew your ideas would be stolen and patented by some rich or other after all. Good gracious! Making a name for yourself as a scientist in a climate like that was a miracle only select few geniuses could ever hope to achieve. Personally, I wasn't one of those geniuses, so it was hardly a wrench. Being forced out of the university because of Logate was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you genuinely believe that? Of course I do. Who's better placed to know whether or not I possess a talent for science than me? I'm sorry to say, but your words don't ring true at all. How dare you? I have evidence to prove it. How are you in a position to say anything about me? I don't know you from Adam. Fine, if you think you have evidence, go ahead. Show it. What What could you possibly have to disprove the idea that I was happy to leave university because I lacked talent? Oh, now I get to show this.
Take that!
Do you remember this, Mr. Drebber? We found it at your workshop. Is that a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science? What exactly is this trophy, Council? It's the greatest honor that can be bestowed on a young scientist, my lord. There's no higher accolade. It recognizes emerging talent and promises a bright future. Good gracious! Your prospects for the future were excellent, weren't they, Mr. Drebber? Because even then, you were a genius in your field. But you lost everything. You had no more future. Your talents would go to waste. All as a result of this one newspaper article. I don't know when you realized who Mr. Isman was, but when it dawned on you that he was the same journalist who 10 years ago ruined your life, it's abundantly clear that you had no intention of forgiving the man. The truth is, finally, he's going to fold. Fine. Clearly this has run its course now. What? I admit it. All of it. What? What are you doing? It's exactly as the Japanese man said. I was coerced into going along with this man's plot to murder the victim, on the condition that he kept my dirty secret from 10 years ago. No. Good Lord. Dr. Scythe, do you realize what you're saying? It's all true. That day, when I arrived at the Crystal Tower and saw the bird cage, my heart nearly stopped beating. That memory from a decade ago that what's in his pocket? Sorry. That memory from a decade ago that I'd done my best to bury deep inside myself. It was the professor again, staring me in the face. And then before I had a chance to react, I noticed something else. Oh yeah, there you go. There was a note tucked inside the model's jacket. Dr. Scythe, you will go along with my plan. From someone who knows the truth about what really happened that night 10 years ago. All the instructions were there in the note. Every detail was meticulously written out. I had no choice but to do what it said. I made necessary alterations to the scene and fabricated the autopsy report as instructed. There was really no other choice. It had to be done to protect the judiciary. I can only apologize now. Why on earth would you buckle now? Well, there's no point trying to hide it anymore, is there? I would have done anything to stop it coming out, even collaborate in a murder. But the great lie about that execution 10 years ago has been exposed. Whatever happens, I'm finished. So then, Mr. Drebber, what do you say to that? Your accomplice has admitted everything. Surely it goes without saying. You admit your part in it too, then? I admit nothing. At all. What? if you've forgotten that the kinesis machine was ripped to shreds by an explosion. Short of me admitting to a crime, there's really no possible way for you to prove I did anything wrong. No! Order, order, order! Whatever this man says, I admit everything. He threatened to expose my secrets, so I went along with his plan. And Lord Van Zieks. Please. I hope you'll accept my apologies. What happens next is in your hands, of course. What is happening? I've heard more than enough now. I hereby present the final findings of this court. What? This trial is not the proper forum in which to pursue the alleged wrongdoings of Mr. Drebber. The defendant is Professor Albert Harebrain. Very true. It just slipped my mind. Isn't he one of your class's friends? As the court had heard, Dr. Scythe has admitted to the allegations brought in by the defense, thereby absolving the defendant of any possible guilt. You mean... At the present time, it's the conclusion of this court that the defendant was not involved in any wrongdoing. Does the prosecution have any objection? None, my lord. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. You've proven Professor Harebrain's innocence. But there's... We don't... Things are... It's not finished yet. Without further ado, then, the adjudication. Unless the prosecution or defense have any other matters to discuss. As several. I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right. Why did Dr. Scythe suddenly admit to it like that? Is everything alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Like you said before, the way of the trial is set to end now. The judge will certainly deliver a verdict of not guilty. But is that really what we want? What the defense should be pushing for now is... Mr. Sholmes gave us a warning. The defense objects to the trial ending at this time, my lord. Mr. Sholmes warned us not to stop. If there was a shadow of doubt, not to run away from it, no matter what. Here's the no matter what. I beg your pardon. We demand one final testimony. What? You do realize that I'm about to adjudicate in favor of your client, I presume? What are you playing at now, Miss Friend? Why would you want to obstruct the conclusion of the trial at this point? A defense lawyer in his right mind would do that. Call me crazy, then. Mr. Naruhodo, what exactly are you thinking? The truth. The whole truth. And a way to bring it all out into the open. Right. Yes. In hindsight. Yep. That's the one. Time to pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end. Whatever may come to pass. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes knew. He must have deduced this would happen. Yes, I'm here in court to advocate for my client. And to secure an acquittal. Obviously. But that's not all. I believe that I have a duty to the court. To pursue the whole truth of the case. Until every last detail is laid bare. Come on, Van Zieks, you've got to be a part of this. And that is why the defense calls for further testimony from Dr. Scythe. Testimony from me? About what? About the nature of your collaboration with Mr. Enoch Drebber. In case it's escaped your attention, I've already admitted to everything I did. The whole truth has already been revealed. So stop wasting everyone's time. As his lordship made very plain, your client will get the acquittal you want for him. There's simply no point protracting this business further with another tedious cross-examination.
Objection!
Pray forgive my careless handling of that hallowed bottle. I slipped. I don't think so. That's what you call it? What is your objection, Lord Venticks? The prosecution also calls for supplementary testimony from a witness. Don't be stupid. He's serious. There's more to this case that has yet to come to light. But I will join my learned friend in pursuing the facts until the bitter end. You're what? Lord Van Zieks. This is most irregular, to say the least. However, as the prosecution also calls for it, I will uphold the request. Dr. Scythe, you will testify to the court, explaining the full extent of your involvement in the murder apparently committed by Mr. Drebber. Very well. Alright, what are we doing here? It all began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the notes tucked inside his jacket. The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately. The truth about the execution 10 years ago was a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it. I'm sorry, the entire forensic team helped you with this, and wow. Nobody said anything? No whistleblowers there, I guess. So I was right, the stage and the machine were all specially designed for the deception. So it seems, and all meticulously prepared. You did well to see through it. You're a very shrewd boy. So kind of you to say. And what about the autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage. That's all. That's a terrible corruption. Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you. We must be thankful for small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe the testimony has clarified everything. There's no particular need for a cross-examination, I would say. I have a right. No, I disagree. I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Just look at that expression on Dr. Scythe's face. It's the defense's right to cross-examine any witnesses following testimony. See? Exactly. What is it about you Japanese that makes you all so doggedly persistent? Well, I am supposed to pursue with like a dog with a bone. Very well, if you so desire, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. I do so desire. Yes, my lord. Press everything. As usual.
Hold it!
From what you described before, it sounds like the note was anonymous. Did you have any idea who was behind it? There are very few people in the know about what really happened 10 years ago to start with. But anyway, I'd never heard of this engineer. So no, I had no idea. Yet despite not knowing who was behind the plan, you went along with it. I had no choice. Protecting the professor's secret was my only concern. The horse is bolted now, and the stable door will never shut again. Scotland Yard's reputation will be immeasurably damaged as a result of all this. Yes, thank you, Lord Van Zieks. I'm well aware of that. So as I understand it, what you found in the birdcage was the waxwork model. Where, then, was the victim's body?
Hold it!
Okay, this much we know. So you knew about the special construction of the stage used to carry out the trick, then? It was quite obvious what had happened with the victim in the waxwork. And you switched the two over, didn't you? In other words, you recorded the victim's body as having been discovered in the Crystal Tower, and waxwork. I wrapped it and sent it by carriage to the specified address at the specified time. And why were you given such directions? Presumably so it would be recovered by Trevor and returned to Madame Tussauds. I see. And then you put the birdcage back in the experimentation stage. Yes, although someone obviously made a mistake about which cage should go where. I thought I'd made it perfectly clear to the team, but still. I suppose you were focused on the victim's body, that being a more important detail.
Hold it!
When you say arranged, I presume you mean with this? Yes, the instruction in the engineer's notes is something along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Harebrain alone could have killed Esmond. So you mean that was your doing? I fetched Harebrain's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage and took it with me alone to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen. Alone, Doctor. I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anybody else in that particular part of the deception. There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest. And then you noted that in your fake autopsy report as a fictitious cause of death. Exactly. So, the actual cause of death was the trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop. My word. What is it, Miss Usato? Something about Dr. Scythe's last statement is playing on my mind, that's all. Yes, mine too. Dr. Scythe. There's really no need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well. The defense calls for you to add what you just said to your formal testimony. Oh, which part? What I want her to supplement her testimony with is... how you stabbed Mr. Asman in the chest. That part. Fine, if that's what you want. There's really no need to point. The prosecution concurs. Now we're all pointing at you. How do you feel about that? Huh? Huh? Very well, you will supplement your testimony now, witness. If you wish, my lord. Alright. She had to have opened the cage first, right? Because, I mean... there's no space here. But is that the problem? I don't know what the problem is. Just because they didn't say where it lay in the toppled cage.
Hold it!
So it was you who stabbed Desmond with this? Yes, far easier than dissection, I assure you. No precision required. What a welcome change. The victim died instantly from a snap neck. All I did was carry out the instructions I've been given. As much the genius, I've no doubt. I imagine you didn't put an eyelid when you drove the weapon into his body. There was no need to bat my eyelids. And what else did you do to twist the facts? Remind the court, why don't you? If you wish. Okay.
Hold it!
The entire team, in perverting the course of justice. My team consists of the very best investigators there are. I demand loyalty from all members. We operate on a code of chivalry of sorts. You aid and abet a murderer, commit perjury, and dare to talk of chivalry? Chivalry? It is a matter of priorities. What? Nothing was more important than protecting the secret of the professor. My team did what was necessary without losing sight of the primary goal. I consider their conduct exemplary. Don't concede the point, Mr. Naruto. You mustn't let her win. I need a lawyer. I'll take that silence as tacit acceptance. Now, can we move on? Well, let's give it a try, shall we? Saving just in case.
Objection!
Yeah, no. Maybe it's the other statement about the cause of death.
Hold it!
Let's see. Change it. Okay.
Hold it!
You're quite sure of that? Is it a result of the broken neck? Yes, as professional, that was more than apparent. You never noticed by looking at the photograph of the victim, though, would you? No, that's very true. Obviously not. Which is precisely why coroners are needed to determine the actual facts. Yes, assuming they can be trusted. It's not worth calling her assessment into question without evidence. Let's get back to the testimony. Very well. What is that? Is that blood? No way to tell. It's damage to the base. So it wasn't head first. Where's the autopsy report? Is it the blood? The blood spatter? Because the original... This case has got me, guys, so don't...
Hold
Let's
it!
see if we can... redo it. I'm gonna try the blood. It's my only thought.
Objection!
Okay. I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. But what on earth is the matter, Counsel? Have you lost your tongue? I apologize, my lord. Dr. Scythe, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with this, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's something new.
Objection!
Yes, we have already considered it, and that's true. But we now know the facts to be different. I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph we see the alleged inconsistency in with the witness's statement.
Take that!
Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downward direction toward the man's feet. Oh. Okay. That is not where I was going with it. And why is that significant, Counsel? If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, it's entirely expected. Of course, no. That's not what happened. Exactly, my lord. Dr. Scythe made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Harebrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage had fallen below the stage and out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. And if the victim had really been stabbed whilst inside the birdcage in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. If we're to affirm the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downward from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Isman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Scythe, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. Where is this going? So she killed him? I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified the contradiction. There's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Scythe. You claim you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the note he left in the waxwork. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim that you had authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the blood stain really tells us has only one possible answer. If that's the case, what is it, ma'am? Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Scythe's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony? The stabbing? The stabbing? I'm saving because I only have one life yet left, so pardon me while I take this opportunity. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards, as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would. Which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
That's impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is the misapprehension. When the birdcage fell from the stage to the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Esmond didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Scythe appeared. If the victim was in fact alive at the point in time, it changes everything. Mr. Odious Min's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain. Nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe. So what was your move? Same thing, probably? So he was a reporter? Order, order, order! Can this possibly be true? Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him? What is going on here? You hope that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial will end, before you are accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now you're making all this up. As if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Ha! Logic! Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What? What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman? Asman was involved in any number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. There's no known connection to Dr. Scythe. leave to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched. True, there's no obvious motive. But there's still something in the back of my mind. I'm sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner must have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report. But murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
I've seen something somewhere? No. When you questioned what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Isman, something did come to mind. What? It was at council, light in the court at once. Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange. We had no reason to suspect it at the time. There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Isman. Scalpels? Scalpels! There was like a bunch of orders for like 50 scalpels or something. It was ridiculous. Something seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it. What does that have to do with Isman? But it's gotta be scalpels, right? It has to be. Because that's the only thing that's... we saw yesterday that was weird. And we know about the Iron Mask, and the screwdriver has nothing to do with her. So scalpels. Is a scalpel. Or rather, scalpels. Did you say scalpels? It would appear that word struck a chord, Doctor. You... come on out with it. It was yesterday, when we visited your laboratory. Oh, 500 scalpels, that was what it was. Scalpels a month. At first I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them. Disappearing every month from the department's accounts. This means criminal organization and not extortion for its fund. Tracing the money from forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going. It would be extremely straightforward. 10 years ago, when Mr. Isman was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Drummond, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Scythe's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Darkest secret? Good lord, you mean... I don't know what happened the night of that execution 10 years ago. But clearly, the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Isman in the heart with all your might. To silence the blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb. The truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, It's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done, and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth. You were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. I mean, really. It's Seattle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Trevor. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it? You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim? Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Esmenzardicore had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Esmond, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave at Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well. Or on Dr. Scythe, to be precise. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Esmond turned up in my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article at the front page caught my eye. About the coroner who had handled the bogus autopsy being appointed head of the new forensics team. When I learned that news, I got into the process and started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him for revenge, and have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I had to suffer. Your actions against those who'd ruin your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis. But you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this. Your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Thanks. Oh, what of Dr. Scythe? Immediate warrant for her arrest had been granted, and she remanded in custody. I presume she will face trial in the coming days along with Mr. Trevor. Most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrayne. Yes? It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that not all sordid details have been brought to light. Now that all the sordid details have been brought to light, this has been a very long and profound trial. But I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt. This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. Me, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy, I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor, I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to, despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor. That's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Trevor. What happened was his doing and Isabel. His outcome is his fault, not yours. I'm not to blame in any way. Or Van Ziek's. And the derision with which he referred to you, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and run your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams, that's not laughable. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Thank you, Beric. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. It is the court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections. None from me, my lord. Certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever. What's that? He's done, is he? Is all over? I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place. Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty. Yay! Boom, 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 boom. Boom. There's 6, not 5. I thought there was 5. Court is adjourned. It's over. That was some trial. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is! It is! Congratulations, Professor Harebrayne. Mr. Naruto, Miss Usato, I am truly, truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all been cleared up, that you realized you were just caught up in a bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you. Every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so... We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. Oh dear. Oh, what can I do? Aha! How about this, as a memento? The paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento, then. Thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Oh my. Yes. What am I going to do? My hypothesis and my crate machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the Great Exhibition whilst I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I can't allow that. Who is that? Oh, hi, Van Zieks. Lord Van Zieks, what are you doing in here? Baroque! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution. Or the defense. Huh? Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? Was that a compliment? Does he trust me? How sweet. I always knew that you had my best interests at heart. Don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Baroque. What about the Great Exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Baroque. Lord Van Zieks? What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zieks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper and the prosecutor. You mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those are the Reaper's sons meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. It's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Chino were completely innocent. True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. Baroque! Like the mustache to me believes this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zieks? In court, people think him as the Reaper. This man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Yes, all right. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hirebrain. Well, once the dust is settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. Now, my Nipponese friend. Yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Well, that was strange. For some reason I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The Enigma, Barak Van Zeeks, or Baroque, or however I choose to pronounce it in the moment. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. Here goes indeed. Are you guys ready? So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity toward your Nipponese comes from. Yeah, you explained very little earlier, so... Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagine you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Will you tell me what happened, please? The professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint Van Zeeks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens. He was already the director of prosecutions, and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Oh, if it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course. I remember Dr. Migatoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zeeks. Truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway, so he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. The man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight. Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. And a new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation were being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as closed trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our two nations could very well have ended up at war. What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my, you mean to say that the professor was...
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time. Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum.
He has the key!
So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
Are you guys ready for this?
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
If anyone was in any doubt.
Father. What? Father?
Kazuma!
My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As he stood there before me. Ryunosuke. Hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba.
It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too. For taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma, the great blade of the Asogi clan, passed down through the generations.
wonder how Van Zieks
When
is
we left
feeling
Japan, this sword was at my friend's side.
with the fact that his apprentice was Japanese, with his whole thing against us, against the Japanese. That is. Sorry, going
The
on.
Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword. And I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
Good to have you back, Kazuma.
I've made it. At last. Father.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Before I do, though, I do have to say, the first game, second case, when Kazuma died, awful circumstances and all of that with that. It was the exact thing I was feeling the first time watching it, and the first time and the second time playing it through, until this moment. Because remember, this is only the second time I've played this game. This moment in the second game where I'm like, oh, he was alive the whole time, which makes the game series and that case back then more tolerable because I know he's not actually dead. So I just had to bring that out there because I still had to kind of like play the part of being like, oh no, he's dead and it's a terrible case and it's so sad and blah blah blah, but he's okay. There he is. Cool. Let's unpack things, shall we?
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
What you doing with that sword, buddy?
Kazuma-sama.
Also, where is Baroque?
Ryunosuke. We have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
What?
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
There he is. I was wondering where he was. So Pandora's box. So, he's the living afterimage of the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yes, Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Van Zieks' apprentice, and when he was suffering amnesia, too? The man was apprehended, even executed. But his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for meeting with me as I asked. You're very calm for someone who just watched all of that. 10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him. Poor Susato-san. All this is tied up with painful memories for her, too. She's never talked about this with me before. It took time to adjust having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, the young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion, I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.
And those wheels keep turning, and the chapters keep turning. Well, we made it through there by the skin of our teeth. Though I didn't ever have to restart, so I'll give myself that. Well. So that case, I didn't remember any of it. The waxwork place is creepy. The characters are fun. The ones, like the balloon guy and the little bohemian kid's random. The whole trickery of the thing. It's cool to see like how things happen and to kind of go back and forth between like, oh, this is the truth. Oh, wait, no, this is what happened. Oh, wait, hold on a second. This is what happened. So I always like the clever cases and the clever stories there. But I think a lot of this is so intertwined and dredged up with the mystery of and the case surrounding the professor, and it wants to put a lot. It puts a lot in this case to make it, get ready for the continuing of this story with Kazuma's father and Van Zieks and his story and like what's going on with Scythe, what was with the thing that happened 10 years ago where he came out of the grave and then was shot, like what is going on, and this is just like a setup for that, and I think that's what this case is really mainly doing. So not in the top favorites or anything like that as far as cases go, but there was a lot of it kind of works as an exposition and a little building block case for the things that are coming. So that's cool. The next couple episodes, we will see the continuation of that storyline and see what is happening. I do not remember at all what this next case is going to be. I do remember the last case to an extent, case 5, to a point, but not much beyond that. But yeah, I think it's really cool too. I like how this case we got to see a little bit more with Van Zieks and his personality and his loyalty and his story. I mean, he's like we were saying, he's this guy who has been through a big issue, and that's where his prejudice lies. It stems from that. But he's also worried. Like that moniker of the Reaper is a big deal for him, and he is worried about the repercussions. He asked about Mr. Natsume. He is protecting his friend and making sure he goes to Germany so that it doesn't go overseas. The only person we have yet to see anything happen to or have any problem with is Gina, who seems to be under the wing of Gregson. So Gregson is trying to take care of her, get her out of the country as well, by going to France with her, as he was explaining to us in this case. So there's a lot of gears turning in this, and a lot of explanation behind it, and a lot uncovering the people behind the problems and the cases and the rumors and what they're really like, despite all of that rumor and stuff. And I thought that it was very interesting. Drebber, I mean, he did build the machine to kill Odiusman, so that was still a thing. But like at first, at a certain point, whenever we were pursuing Scythe and saying that she was the one who killed him, I realized, like, Drebber didn't really do anything wrong, did he? Like, he wasn't, even whenever he was putting the bombs, he said that, like, you know, we would be a safe distance away. So it's interesting. He was like, I mean, he wasn't a good guy by any means, but he wasn't as terrible. But he did try to kill Odiusman, so there was murderous intent there. But it's interesting how that kind of came to be, and how in the end he had to admit it, and he had to talk about what he saw, and his story is an interesting one. I didn't remember that. I didn't remember the eyewitness. I did remember, like, the fact that he came out of the grave or whatever, but I didn't remember, well, of course, the witness had to see it. And I remembered how she got the face of the killer beyond the mask. I remember that was a whole point. But yeah, there's a lot awaiting us, and we'll have to see. I've been talking too long, clearly, because my screen faded. So I think that means that that's enough for now. Plus, it's a long one again, so sorry about that. But I will see you guys next time when we're on episode 4, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow, and we'll see what that entails. So, talk to you guys then.